Hi, and welcome to A Better Place. As you know, in this series, we are bringing you specials on education. However, today, we will be bringing you a special edition on autism awareness. Stay tuned, we will be right back. Welcome back to A Better Place. As I mentioned earlier, today we are bringing you a special edition on autism awareness. And in the studios, we have with us a previous guest, Miss Astor Allen and Pastor Allen. Mrs. and Mr. Allen, welcome to A Better Place.
Thank you, Angelique, and it's really nice to be back again discussing autism.
Yes. So tell us, I am aware that on April 2nd is Autism Awareness Day. Can you shed some light on what autism is and what is happening in this month of April concerning autism?
Okay, I would love to. Autism is a neurological disorder, so it is connected to the brain and how the brain processes information. So with a person who has autism, they're going to have problems in their ability to communicate. They will also have problems in their behaviors. So the behaviors that we would see as a regular pattern of behavior, we would see something quite different with them. And also they would have problems in their ability to interact with others. So 3 areas really that autism would affect a person, but it's all stemming from the brain. There's a dysfunction in the brain, and so it causes them to act, behave, speak, if they have speech, in different ways. And so what we're trying to do this month again is to raise awareness of persons living with autism in our society. They are there are a lot of them, and each day we see more and more of them. We mainly work with children, but there are adults in our society who have autism. Autism is a spectrum. It's not one single condition. You have classic autism, which is really all of those things that I said. But you also have a child who may have Asperger's, which is another aspect of autism on the spectrum. A person with Asperger's does not have the same language problem, so they may appear not to have a problem at all. They also do have, average intellect. So again, you might think, well, really, what is wrong with this person? But they do have problems in communicating. And as they get older and being able to express themselves, you would see this difficulty more and more. You also, another aspect of autism on the spectrum is a child who would have what we call pervasive developmental disorder. It covers every aspect of the person. Their basic skills are delayed. Their ability to communicate are delayed. So every part of the person is affected. And there's another one that we call Rett's disorder. Usually when a child is young, you'll see a decrease in the size of the head. You'd also see that they will usually have profound mental retardation. And you'll see them just doing, things like appear to be washing their hands. Those are the children with Rett's disorder, so they have a lot of motor problems. And one other one is the disintegrative disorder. A child would start off normal. You would think that there's nothing wrong with them. Usually autism, you pick it up at age 3. But this child will go on, and there doesn't seem to be a problem. But at a certain point, you begin to see they lose interest in their toileting, taking care of themselves, their environment, there's a problem with the language, and then they take on the regular signs of autism, which are the communication problems, the social interaction problems, and the behavior problems. So really, you're looking at about 4 to 5 different aspects of autism.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, you said that at about the age of 3, you notice this. So you don't really notice it before that?
Not usually. When the child is diagnosed, it's just before the child gets to the age of 3, maybe about 30 months or so. That's when you could really pick it up. You'll notice that the milestones, because up until that point, the child would appear to meet the milestones. But then you'll notice things, maybe the child is not having that interaction with the parent as normal. You'll notice that there's a language problem, because we know our 3-year-olds, they're very inquisitive, they're into everything, chattering, and you'll see that that begins to change with a child who is displaying signs of autism.
And Pastor Allen, I know that you have the school, the
Yes.
head
Center of Excellence.
Of Excellence.
Yes.
So you cater mostly for autistic children, or is it just children with disorders on a whole?
I think I can say children with special ed needs. We do have quite a few children with autism, and as my wife said, along the whole spectrum. You'll see them in different areas. You'll see them with different abilities, and so we see quite a lot of them. Really, I think in numbers, I could say I think we have at least 9 to 11, if not more, students with classic autism. And so while we also have students with other areas of need, especially in special ed, but with autism, yes, we do have, see quite a lot of them, quite a lot of children, even more adults we are seeing now coming in at an older age, and parents are looking for help for their children and so on now.
Well, and it's amazing because we were just reading up on the figures and what it is now, and I realized that before it was 1 out of 150 children
Right, yes.
in the US,
US,
specifically, and now we're seeing that it's 1 over 91, and out of that, it's 1 over 58 that are boys.
Right.
So which means that it's really growing steadily.
Yeah.
Now, are there any studies that have been done in these islands or St. Martin that we can identify how many of our youngsters here do have autism?
As far as I know, as far as we know, I don't think there's any figures on the Dutch side as far as I know. I have just over the last few weeks been in touch with a number of other people from other Caribbean islands trying to see if there are figures. And really, there seems to be no figures at the moment. On the Dutch side, we don't have any said figures. But from running the school, you're seeing parents coming out more and more. I remember when we started first, it was almost like a taboo. People are not always ready to discuss the disability or ability of their child or children. But I think over the years, we are now seeing more and more parents are coming out and they're willing to talk about these things. But as to say figures, official figures, we do not have. We have not been able to ascertain any of those figures at the moment. I'm aware that there's some talk in the air concerning doing some research to try and probably ascertain some of that. While I'm not sure whether it will be directed to autism, I don't think it will be to autism alone. But hopefully out of what research is hoping to be done, we will be able to get some figures to have some idea. I'm not sure what the French side has as figures either, but I know unofficially there are some very high numbers. Really, when you look at our population, it's very high figures. Also, we find in the school that we have much more boys, as we were talking about the figures. Well, we only have boys, yes,
with autism.
And I know in England, and I think that is in England, it's just changing. It was 1 in 100, and that is coming down fast. They're now saying, and so it's amazing. It is
right,
amazing.
and like you said, it is amazing. And one thing that the study showed and they were talking about is that you can take a blood test and you can find out if you have diabetes, if you have, if your kidneys are not functioning well. But this is not, you can't detect autism through this, and I think that is what makes it so heart-wrenching for a parent to find out, after your child now becomes 3.
It's been developing, yes.
Right, that they might have autism. So how do you deal with that when you have parents bringing in children to your school and they have a disability and they might not know what it is?
Well, to answer that, I know that there are a lot more children in our community that do have autism. Some are not in school. Some either are at home on their own because the parent has to work and there's no one to care for them. And also sometimes depends on the severity of the autism, whether or not they can be managed properly, so whether I can get somebody to stay with them, because the behavior may be so extreme. The child may need, constant supervision, and those types of children are there, they exist. If a parent was to come to us, or by the time the parent comes to us, the child would have been diagnosed already. And so the child coming to us, they would be at the age of at least 5. And so imagine what a parent has had to have gone through from the time of diagnosis until the time the child gets into school. So usually you're alone. There are no support groups specifically for that or has an understanding of that. There is For the Love of Kids Foundation. It's a parent support group, and they support parents of children with various disabilities. So that's the only support group we know on the Dutch side. On the French side, you have the Association Tournesol, another parent support group. And so parents have organized themselves to assist each other, which is normally the case. Right. It's a good thing. But by the time they do come to us, you do find that parents that come out and will openly acknowledge that, yes, I do have a challenge. My child does have a problem. This is a diagnosed disability, and I don't know how to cope. And no school will take them. Can you help?
Hold that thought, Miss Allen.
Okay.
And we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
I need a favor. I don't have a lock for my bike, and I'm just wondering if maybe you could run into the store and grab me some tampons.
Tampons?
Are you kidding me?
Well, how about you just go in there and I'll just watch your bike?
I don't know the first thing about buying that stuff.
What stuff?
What do you have to get?
You can't say tampons?
I just won't do it.
Even if I was your mother.
Even if he was my mother.
Can I buy toilet paper? Will that work?
No!
You buy Kotex, a new line of tampons, pads, and liners.
Are you looking for that prescription that the doctor just gave to you and you can't find it at no other pharmacy? Well, the Orange Grove Pharmacy is where you should be. The Orange Grove Pharmacy, we carry a wide range of American and European prescriptions and drugstore items. We also do personal care products. We offer friendly services and 24 hours emergency delivery. Charges may apply. We're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Saturdays, 9 to 1 p.m. Orange Grove Pharmacy, supporting a healthy lifestyle.
Hi, and welcome back to A Better Place. Pastor Allen, just before we took a break, you were going to interrupt Miss Allen and talk a bit about your experiences as well with the parents.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that there are many parents who also come in. My wife just spoke about parents who come in and they talk about their child and the diagnosis. But we need to understand too that many of our children have not been officially diagnosed, and they have been to different doctors. And really, it takes not just a general practitioner, general doctor, to diagnose autism. It has to go through certain process where you have to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and then the psychiatrist then will have to make that final decision. And you find that for many people, the minute they hear about a psychiatrist, they begin to think, well, you're going to think my child is mad or something. And so there's still a lot of children who needs to be properly diagnosed, and proper diagnosis can only lead to better care. When someone is diagnosed, you know exactly what they're diagnosed with and how to help. You started off earlier by saying that it's really heart-wrenching for parents. After 2 years, 2.5 years, coming up to 30 months, you then see your child who started to develop so good, then just begin to have this these setbacks. And it can be really hard and difficult for parents. And many times you find what happens is that parents will go into that lull of not accepting what is happening and denial of certain things. And then when you do find out, it's generally a little bit too late. One of the things that we are trying to promote at the school is early intervention. And so one of the programs we have is the early childhood program, where we begin from about 3 years old, working with children, teaching them how to learn and that sort of thing. So it is difficult, but I think more and more we're seeing more parents, especially in our local communities, local societies, they're coming to grips and learning how to come and seek help and find help.
And Ms. Allen, you wanted to talk about the numbers, or?
Yes, that's right. On the Friend side, they have identified that every year there are 5 children born and diagnosed with autism. Now, the diagnosis does not take place at the time of birth. Obviously, it takes place much later. But they're able to know that this is the amount. If we look at the time of diagnosis from the time of birth, on average, it's about 5 children born every year on the Friend side of the island who have been diagnosed with autism. But that's taking it from a health perspective. We don't have those statistics on the Dutch side. I'm not quite sure in terms of health how we, at what point we identify what type of disability a child would have. I know there are concerns about diagnosing children early because they're going through the stages of development. But we do know that with autism, and probably with a lot of others, that early diagnosis and early intervention will enhance and improve the quality of life and the type of intervention you can give to a child. Therefore, their interaction with society, their ability to learn and to be able to use educational opportunities and have a better type of life would be much improved if we had early diagnosis and early intervention.
You also have some of these youngsters who, they might be extremely intelligent in one area. They might be extremely good at one particular sport.
Yes.
And my question would be then is how and what is causing this autism? Because I know at one point in the US they were speculating that it was a particular vaccine that was causing these children to have or become autistic. But what are they really saying that is causing this?
It still cannot be identified that this specific factor is a direct contributor to a child or person having autism. There are many reasons why, and we cannot say what. But I think that is good in a sense, because often the time is, it's blamed on parents, and they carry that guilt for a long time. So it's good that they can't say it's genetic, so that I carry that load. Vaccinations, it's probably good that they can't say that, because there are certain vaccinations that we need. As a society, our life has improved because we're able to have that. So I think if we continue to do the research, continue to identify what are the factors, then we don't have to deal with guilt trips, we don't have to put ourselves at risk by not taking vaccines, and we could really look at the causes.
Thanks, and we have to take a break again.
Okay.
Stay tuned, we will be right back.
Man, I'm supposed to take my girl out to dinner this weekend. I'm so broke, man.
Man, I used to have those same problems, but since I got my whip company card, when I take my lady out, I even get something back,
Get something back? But you're a lucky fella.
I take your mind out the gutter, man. What I mean is, with whip company I get back 1% on every purchase I make. With this card, I can spend in guilders and use it throughout the Netherlands and TDs. Instead of paying 1% at the dollar credit card, now I get 1% back on every purchase I make at the end of the year.
What? I gotta get myself a company on card.
Man, but let's go.
Let me go. Man, now my lady's birthday gonna be a real celebration.
At least now with Whip Compaleon, I know you're gonna get something back.
The Whip Compaleon credit card with limits as low as 500 guilders. You don't have to walk with cash, and it is accepted by practically all businesses. The Whip Compaleon is the first guilder credit card that can be afforded by anyone.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Hi, and welcome back to A Better Place. Miss Allen, now let's speak a bit about the day, Autism Awareness Day, and the month, and what has been done throughout the world, to bring about awareness in this month.
Okay, well, Autism Awareness Day was instituted by the United Nations. They recognized the impact of autism on not just the individual and not just their family, but on society as a whole, and the need for us to be more aware of how it affects the one, but the whole. And so they instituted this day as April the 2nd. For us this year, April the 2nd is this coming Monday, and it will be our 3rd year that we have been trying to raise awareness of autism here in St. Martin. Normally, we would have a church service on the day closest to Autism Awareness Month. But the good thing this year, or April 1st, falls on a Sunday, and so we'll be having a series of radio programs on the day speaking about autism, focusing on disability from a Christian perspective, so that as a society we know that it's not just something that came up today, but that even in the Bible it speaks about disabilities and how we should treat people. So that's one way we want to raise awareness of autism. On the 2nd, we do know that a lot of people tune into this program, A Better Place, and so we're hoping that they will learn more about autism and about how to interact with people and support families with children with autism. And we normally have a family fun day. This year we're going to put it later down in the month, and throughout the month you'll hear more of that. We'll be having a series of radio programs and hopefully another TV program to really talk about autism, different aspects of it from a parent's perspective, working with children from a teacher's perspective. So really this year the focus is on sort of keeping people stood still or sitting still so that you can hear more and then make notes and know how can I contact somebody to ask questions about a child or how I support a parent with autism.
Well, it's a great initiative, what you're doing, and what sticks with me is, there's this commercial on television, Autism Speaks, and it's a commercial that is very interesting. It gets your attention, and of course they're using also people that are well-known figures, to bring across this message that, look, I am well-known, but it has happened to me. My child also has autism, and that to bring about this awareness. So what you're doing is very good to bring about this awareness. Pastor Allen, earlier you were talking about the parents that are coming in and they're becoming more and more aware of what their children have, but that the diagnosis is not always there. How do you think we can go about helping parents more in this society to bring about the awareness and help them to get this proper diagnosis for their children?
I think really that education is going to be the paramount thing that we do. I think we have to begin to help our parents to come away from that that sort of idea of not wanting to discuss what's going on with the child, that taboo of, as I said before, of disability. And so a whole program of education has to be embarked upon. We need to begin to look at the parents, look at, and as my wife said early on, we need to get away, and it's not a blaming game. It's not about, well, because you did this or you didn't do that. But children are here, and they have these various disabilities. And so what we need to do is to really get parents to understand, look, your child may have autism, but there are so many other people around the world who have had autism, still have autism, and they've done some great things. I was just hearing a few months ago that the chip for our cell phones, it was really first came about by a person who had autism, and that says a lot. There are people with autism who can do a lot of things. So while we are educating parents of how to cope and how to seek better help and how to work with their children, we also need to educate our society that not only just autism, but other disabilities, but we are focusing on autism. We need to educate our society that people with autism, they have a lot that they can share, they can contribute to society. If you were to go on the web, if you were to research it, you would find that in the States and in many of the other countries, there are laws that says that you must employ not just people with disability, but people with autism too, because there's quite a lot of them who can do things, who can make a contribution to society. And that is one of the important reasons why we have to start early stimulation, early education of these children, and so that by the time they get to the age of adulthood, they can have some contribution for society.
And Ms. Allen, is there anything you want to share with the viewing audience just before we close?
Yes. Just to remind the audience that autism, it can be a very pervasive disorder and that it affects every part of your life. However, when you see a person with autism, know first of all they're an individual. Just like you and I, they have their own personality, their own characteristics. They have a lot to offer. Some of them are really such characters, they make you laugh. Some of them are gifted. They are profound in their abilities. So recognize them as an individual and reach out to them. Don't be put off by them, but reach out. Slowly, don't startle them, but reach out.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Allen, I want to thank you for having been a guest on A Better Place and for bringing us all of this information concerning autism. And to you, the viewing audience, I would like to thank you for having been a part of A Better Place. Stay tuned because we do have a part 2 on autism. I'm your host, Angelique Rimou.